You're listening to the BBM Global Network with 25 years in broadcast audio and video production. Our passionate team creates content and marketing for the world of Internet Talk Radio. If you've got a passion, come join us at bbmglobalnetwork.com. The BBM Global Network. Your voice is now heard.
Welcome to Happiness Ninja Down Under with your host, Jamie Rose. Jamie will educate and empower people, organizations, and communities to help us all make better health and well-being choices. She will also engage you with expert influencers from around the world. So now, please welcome the host of Happiness Ninja Down Under, Jamie Rose.
Hi guys, welcome to Happiness Ninja Down Under. I'm Jamie Rose, the host of this series, and we are coming to you live from Bold Brave TV. You can tell that it's a Friday night here. It's been a busy week, and I'm already stumbling over my words. I am coming to you live from New York City, and I have an amazing guest here coming to you live from the UK. We have the fabulous Julianne Parker. So I met Julie a number of years ago back in Australia, and she is a Pellowah Energy Healer amongst many other things. Thank you, Julie, for joining me today. I know that it's pretty late in the evening there.
It is, but very happy to be with you and to be seeing you again, Jamie.
Thank you. It's probably been, what, a good 3 years or so?
Yeah, 3 years.
Yeah. Wow. Actually, it's funny, last night I was sort of, re-going over my brain how we met, and I was thinking, oh, wow, who referred me to you? Because you're a transformative coach as well as a Pellowah healer. And we did the Pellowah Energy Healing, which we'll talk about in this episode. You taught me. But I was like, hang on, how did we met before then? And then it dawned on me, Gordon Kuhn, he was the person who first referred me to you. And I haven't spoken to him in such a long time either.
Yeah, it's all those little connections that we make along the way. It's quite an amazing thing. And then to be here doing this now it's kind of crazy, really, isn't it?
It is, yeah. I mean, I definitely think that we were drawn to the parts of the world that we're supposed to be in for this, whether we knew that at the time or not. I'm sure you probably think along the similar lines as well.
Very definitely. And I think you know my story as far as how I ended up here, and you know that it's all associated with Pellowah. And you and I are very similar in this regard, that when something calls us, we answer that call, because it's usually a very strong force that's actually calling us to do that. And sometimes we have to get out of our own way to do it, because obviously logic would say, no, don't do that. But not really one who works from logic.
You mean don't live your entire life and just go to the other side of the world on whim like we both did?
Yeah, pretty much.
It's funny how crazy like attracts crazy like. Actually, so speaking a little bit of your story, you have a very eclectic past, lots of different career changes, quite like myself. Maybe, again, similar attracts similar. So you've done anything and everything, I should say, from advertising and marketing to Reiki to aromatherapy. I think there was a business coach in there. there was a long list to rattle off and remember. Would you like to talk us through a little bit of that, and how it led you down to the path that you're on now? Because it's a bit of a 180.
It is a 180 in many regards, but I've always been a firm believer that you do what you do at the time. That's what it is. It's for the time. It's not necessarily what's going to happen, for the rest of your life. And, I think we can all understand that along the way, we tend to, particularly early on as we move into careers, we tend to do things that society expects of us, or that family expects to us, and we try to stand up and meet those expectations. And I'm not going to say that I didn't have a part to play in the decisions that I made to go into corporate, because quite clearly I did, and I was very good at it. And I will say that it was a phenomenal training ground. So I don't think anything we do is ever wasted, even if it might appear that we've deviated, from our path, or what's our true purpose, or what our heart desires are. I think everything we learn along the way, whether it's from a career perspective or whether it's personal relationships, whatever we do plays a part, and it all comes together at some stage. And it's a beautiful thing, having experienced it. It's a beautiful thing when all those things that you've learned actually come into play, and you're able to share that, and you sit in a unique position because you have been through so many experiences in your life that you can relate to people and what is happening to them on a day-to-day basis, and the trials and tribulations that they face on a day-to-day basis. And you can speak to them from personal experience and share the things that you've used along the way, or the things that you've seen or learnt along the way, in order to facilitate some understanding for them.
Exactly. And so you are, well, I'm not sure if you're doing it at the moment, but I met you, you're a transformative coach. Would you say that you have like a lot of corporate clients?
Definitely in Australia, that was where most of my client base came from, the corporate arena, and most of them were from people who were in that transitory stage where they were questioning their career, questioning whether or not it was serving them, feeling like they, were not being soul nurtured by what they were doing, but also not understanding how they could make the transition between what they were doing to something that would feed them from a soul perspective. So that was definitely the bigger client base in Australia. I still have clients from around the world, and I still deal with them on that level, but more and more these days, it's more people have actually made the decision. They've actually realised, they've had this critical point that they've come to, and they've realised and they've made that decision. And more it's about facilitating their understanding of what they can actually bring forward to gift to the world.
And then that brings in the energy healing, I assume, and what your focus is on right now. Absolutely.
It very much does, because this specific energy healing, Pellowah, is specifically orientated towards consciousness. And obviously, the more aligned we are and aware with ourselves, the more conscious decisions we can make about what it is that we're here to do. Yeah.
Exactly. So just before we go to the break, would you like to share with the audience exactly what Pellowah Healing is all about? Besides shifting consciousness is the main focus, but could you just give a little bit of a wrap up of what it is in a nutshell, so people can have an understanding?
Yeah, it's shifting consciousness on an individual basis in order to contribute to the raising of collective consciousness. So it's doing our bit to become more aware of ourselves and to make conscious decisions that actually serve the collective.
Okay, thank you. So we do have to cut to the break, but when we come back, we're going to go into that a lot more. I did your training. It's the modality that you're trained to teach other people. And that's the whole reason that you are in the UK now, teaching other people how to do that, so we can collectively shift the consciousness of the world. It's very much needed right now. Yes, indeed. We will be back from the break in just a moment.
What if there were a super tiny device that could diagnose the brain and is smaller than a single human hair? What if you could see inside the brain to help an epilepsy patient during surgery or to help the fight against Parkinson's disease? Dr. Patricia Broderick is proud to announce the Broderick Probe, a biomedical and electronic breakthrough. Imagine a probe to help with the understanding and potential cure of brain-related diseases. To learn more, listen live to the Easy Sense radio show with host Dr. Broderick, Wednesdays 7 p.m. Eastern on the Bold Brave Media Network and TuneIn Radio. And to help support the Broderick Foundation, please go to EasySense.com and learn how, with your help, we can fight these horrific brain disorders. That's EasySense.com to learn more and help support the Broderick Foundation. Author, radio show host, and coach John M. Hawkins reveals strategies to help gain perspective, build confidence, find clarity, achieve goals. John M. Hawkins' new book, Coached to Greatness, Unlock Your Full Potential with Limitless Growth, published by iUniverse. Hawkins reveals strategies to help readers accomplish more. He believes the book can coach them to greatness. Hawkins says that the best athletes get to the top of their sport with the help of coaches, mentors, and others. He shares guidance that helps readers reflect on what motivates them, rediscover and assess their core values, philosophies, and competencies, find settings that allow them to be the most productive, and track their progress towards accomplishing goals. Listen to John Hawkins' My Strategy, Saturdays, 1 p.m. Eastern on the BBM Global Network and TuneIn Radio. Did you know that your beliefs create your entire reality? But it's the subconscious beliefs that do most of the creating. Belief shifter and life coach Shiraz can help you identify those limiting beliefs and eliminate them, often in a single session.
Like, it was almost instant. Like, I had relief right away.
Creating better health, relationships, careers, and finances. Let Shiraz help you step out of safety and into awareness.
Definitely something's happening. It's like a flow inside. You know, it feels good.
Whether in person or online, Shiraz provides personal coaching, belief shifting. Visit Shiraz at energeticmagic.com or call 416-529-7429. Energetic Magic on the BBM Global Network, Tuesdays at 7 p.m. Eastern. Find your greater happiness. Be well. Be aware. Be magical.
Welcome back to Happiness Ninja Down Under. I'm Jamie Rose, and you are... Geez, I'm having a good day today. You can tell it's Friday. We are coming to you live from Bold Brave TV, and I have the amazing Julie Parker coming to you all the way from the UK. Julie is a Pellowah Energy Healer. Thank you for joining me, Julie.
Thank you for having me.
Just maybe you won't stumble on your words like I am today.
Oh, no, it's after 11 over here, so I may do.
Oh, maybe you need to have a glass of wine and you'll be fine. Maybe I need that and then I'll be okay.
It's right.
Exactly. Thank you for joining us and taking up the Friday evening. So before the break, we were just discussing about the specific energy healing modality that you do is all about shifting consciousness. Now, could you please share with us how you discovered Pellowah and what led you to becoming attuned to the third level? I'm attuned to the second, I believe, but it's been quite a few years now, so I'm a bit rusty.
No, absolutely. I when I first met you, I was working as a transformational coach and also doing energy modalities, a wide range of energy modalities with clients. And I had noticed that despite having a very, very large toolkit, there were some very stubborn things that people would come back fairly consistently with. And I had one of those moments one day where I was shaking my fist at the universe and going, give me something that will produce a shift so that these people can actually fly. Because as much as I love my clients, I really want them to fly. I don't want to have to see them. I don't want them to feel that they need to see me all the time. They need to have that ability to be independent and fly and actually grow and do what it is that they came here to do. And
to heal properly.
Yeah. And I good old Facebook. I was well, actually, what happened first was the following day I was in a cafe, and I could hear a conversation between two women, but the only word that I could heard with it was this muffled word, Pellowah. And I thought, and after hearing it 3 times, I thought there's something about that I really need to take note of. And then went away and Googled the whole process and thought, yes, that's absolutely what I need to look at. I need to look at training in that. Thinking that it was for my clients, of course. And of course, nothing we ever do is for our clients. It's always for us first. We're the first experiment. So
yeah.
I was scrolling through Facebook about 24 hours after that, and up popped this workshop with this specific teacher. And I contacted them straight away. And a week later, I was on level 1 and level 2 Pellowah workshop, which is a practitioner level workshop, and then started using it with my clients and started to really notice that it started to shift things. And sometimes those things are very organic and people don't actually realize that they've already started to make some changes in the way that they think and the way that they respond. They begin to respond to things instead of reacting to things from past situations. And that was when I also decided very shortly afterwards, so it was 6 months later, that I did the level 3 because I really felt that I wanted to teach it. I also felt that I had clients who had benefited from it with sessions, but would really benefit from it if they actually did the training as well, because the shifts that come in the training are quite significant during the course of the training, and obviously they continue a lot longer after that. And so I did the training in February of 2018, the teacher training in February of 2018, and was due to fly to the UK for 6 weeks of holiday, and ended up being here for 8.5 months.
I remember that.
Due to the fact that a friend over here asked me if there was a possibility I could attune them to practitioner level of Pellowah. I did, and that just created this ongoing situation where people kept asking me if I could do that, until I got a very clear indication that that's actually what I was meant to be doing at this stage. I was meant to bring it to this area of the world and actually facilitate a group of practitioners in this area of the world.
I think the class that I did was only one of a few that you ran when you were only back for a couple of months, wasn't it?
That's right. I came back in the November. I think it was either the November or early the following year that you did it, and that was really the last time that I ran them in Australia, because I've been over here.
You haven't been there, yeah. And it's interesting because I'm aware of other modalities, and you yourself are a Reiki practitioner as well. But I was drawn to this one for some reason, and actually, I think the biggest shift it had for me was I really solidified my belief in energy healing through that workshop. I still think I sat on the fence a little bit. But through that, it showed me that it's real and that I had the power within myself. So I have you to thank for that. The universe brought us together. So, yeah, it's amazing.
And Pellowah really does call to you. It's something that actually calls to you at the right time.
Exactly. We do have to cut to another break, but when we come back, we will continue on with this. So stay tuned, guys. We'll be back in a moment.
Are you struggling to care for elderly parents or a spouse? Do you wonder if being a caregiver is making you sick? Are you worried about taking time off work to care for elderly parents and balance work, life, and caregiving? Has caregiving become exhausting and emotionally draining? Are you an aging adult who wants to remain independent, but you're not sure how? I'm Pamela D. Wilson. Join me for the Caring Generation radio show for caregivers and aging adults, Wednesday evenings, 6 Pacific, 7 Mountain, 8 Central, and 9 Eastern, where I answer these questions and share tips for managing stress, family relationships, health, well-being, and more. Podcasts and transcripts of the Caring Generation are on my website, PamelaDWilson.com, plus my caregiving library, online caregiver support programs, and programs for corporations interested in supporting working caregivers. Help, hope, and support for caregivers is here on the Caring Generation and PamelaDWilson.com.
The opiate epidemic has reached crisis levels, and with so many families affected by addiction, opiate-related drug overdoses, and death, the time is now to have a real constructive conversation about addiction that could lead to better prevention, treatment, and recovery. Alan Charles, author and keynote speaker on drug abuse and prevention, presents The Alan Charles Show. Alan brings a message of hope, sharing his unbelievable story of surviving a 24-year addiction to cocaine and highlights from his memoir, Walking Out the Other Side, an addict's journey from loneliness to life. His raw honesty and courageous heart breaks the stigma of addiction and offers a unique perspective into the mind of an addict. Join Alan each week as he brings his listeners to a true understanding of the grip of addiction. It is only with this understanding that we can begin to heal. The Alan Charles Show, Thursdays at 9 p.m. Eastern on the BBM Global Network.
Welcome back to Happiness Ninja Down Under. I'm Jamie Rose, and we are coming to you from Bold Brave TV. And I didn't screw it up that time. Yay for me. We have the amazing Julie Parker here. Thanks again for joining us all the way from the UK on a Friday, almost midnight there, isn't it?
It is.
Thank you for your time. So before the break, we were just talking about Pellowah Healing. It's an energy healing modality that we were both drawn to. It's all about shifting consciousness, and it is the reason that you are in the UK at the moment. I actually had a similar kind of thought, when I did the workshop. And I thought, great, I can come here, and that's something that can help me earn some money on the side, as well as, just help me start a community myself. It didn't exactly pan out that way, but I'm glad that it has for you. Could you let the audience know a little bit more about what the modality entails, and the kinds of shifts that they might find themselves having after a session with you?
Yeah, absolutely. So the modality is very different to any other modalities. It works directly with the client. It's one of the key things that when people do the workshop, they realize that it comes from a completely different basis. It comes from the basis of understanding that we are all more aware of our own consciousness than anybody else is aware, and anything that anybody tells us is filtered through their own belief systems, and therefore it's not a true indication of whatever is going on for us. So Pellowah recognizes that the experience is the experience of the person. It's their consciousness that is at play. And so for that reason, it works directly with the client, and the practitioner is there. They're attuned to call in the energy and actually flow with the energy to assist the energy to do what it needs to do. And Pellowah works with it in a sequence to unlock whatever the next shift is that is necessary for the client. And that shift has been agreed with by the higher consciousness of the client. And so that's why it's a beautiful modality, because it produces what is necessary at that time. And we come to things as human beings believing that we know what is necessary from an egoic perspective. So we think that if we could just get over our fear of public speaking, everything would be okay, when in fact, of course, we have so many things that lie underneath that belief that need to be shifted before we can actually see a change. And so most people experience after a session of Pellowah, during a session of Pellowah, once again, it's very different to other modalities. It's not there for relaxation. It's working with consciousness. It's shifting things through consciousness. Some people can have very visceral experiences. Some people can have lots of imagery, like they're watching movies. Some people can feel like they've had an entire conversation. So some sessions it can feel like you've been very, very active, and meanwhile your practitioner has thought that you're highly relaxed because you've been snoring for 60 minutes. It's quite a strange little phenomena with it. Following the session, so some people can get insights during the session, but for most people, the insights actually occur post the session. The energy continues to work with you to bring about the shift, and those insights can come, in thought processes that occur in the hours and the days afterwards. But they can also come in a way where they're very, very organic, and people start, until you ask them questions, people don't realize that they've actually made shifts. So, for example, somebody could have felt very overwhelmed by a particular situation, but until you ask them a day or so later how they're feeling about it, they haven't realized that actually it's not bothering them anymore, that they no longer have the attachment to it. Yeah. So people tend to feel a greater sense of peace. They tend to be more observant of what is happening in their life rather than being caught into the chaos of it. So it's almost like they've taken a step back. They're able to observe, and they realize that they don't have the emotional trigger that they had when they were actually sitting within it. And that's really why most people come to it. Most people come to it because they're at a critical stage, they're at a crossroads, they need answer to questions, or they're dealing with something specifically, and you don't need to know what the issue is. That's the beautiful thing about it as an energy modality. As a practitioner, I don't need to know the issue, and as a client, you don't need to know the issue, because your higher consciousness has taken care of that and knows what needs to happen.
I think that is one of the things that I found the most fascinating about it. The fact that, so I was sort of stuck in, I guess, the 3D traditional route of things, where I still thought, you had to become aware consciously of what the issue was to be able to release it, and to finally know and experience that isn't the case is actually really amazing. I think that's probably why I was drawn to it as well without realizing it at the time, because I remember Gordon telling me that he had no idea why, but after his session with you, he found himself on the beach bawling his eyes out. He had no idea why. And then after it was over, he just felt so peaceful and joyous and calm, and that everything was going to be fine. And yeah, it's very interesting how he didn't really have any answers consciously, but he had the shifts energetically, which brought about the answers that he needed. Absolutely. From an unconscious level.
And the thing is that, now science is getting more and more up to date with information that's been known by mystics and seers for a long, long time. And, science now talks about the fact that we inherit up to 14 generations of information from, of fear, trauma, phobia, and memory from age. So you can't possibly be able to consciously in your mind figure out what the issue is if you've inherited that from the lineage.
Exactly. It's there with us energetically. It manifests in us physically, emotionally, but we have no conscious awareness or memory of it because it was generations ago that have just been passed down. Yeah, exactly. It's fascinating. I love what energy healing has brought into my life, as I'm sure you have as well. We do have to cut to another break, so we'll be back in just a moment, and we will continue on speaking about consciousness and energy healing in general.
Have you ever felt like no one is listening, or you're not getting the honest attention you deserve? Do you even know the kind of attention you want or need? You are not alone. Alice Aspen March is here to help. Thanks to Alice, through her epiphany and research over the word attention, there are solutions to the attention dilemma. Worldwide audiences have been enthralled and engaged for over 40 years with her visionary and pioneering observations. The kind of attention we get and give is vital to improving our lives and society. Alice and her weekly guests review game-changing insights for transforming and improving our understanding of attention, providing techniques for creating healthier and empowering behavior. Get a new perspective on a mainstream word. Tune into Why Our Attention Matters for fresh and thought-provoking conversations every Tuesday at 3 p.m. Eastern on boldbravemedia.com and the TuneIn Radio app. Mike Zorich, a three-time California state champion in Greco-Roman wrestling at 114 pounds. Mike, blind since birth, was born in Hartford, Connecticut. He was a six-time national placer, including 2 seconds, 2 thirds, and 2 fourths. He also won the Veterans Folk-Style Wrestling twice at 152 pounds. In all these tournaments, he was the only blind competitor. Nancy Zorich, a creative spirit whose talents have taken her to the stage and into galleries and exhibitions in several states. Her father, a commercial artist who shared his instruments with his daughter and helped her fine-tune her natural abilities, influenced her decision to follow in his footsteps. Ms. Zorich has enjoyed a fruitful career doing what she loves. Listen Saturday mornings at 12 Eastern for the Nancy and Mike Show for heartwarming stories and interesting talk on the BBM Global Network.
Welcome back to Happiness Ninja Down Under. I am Jamie Rose, and you are on Bold Brave Media, coming to you live from New York City and the UK this week, Wales specifically. We have Julianne Parker, a transformative coach and Pellowah Energy Healer, coming to you from Wales. Thanks for joining us, Julie.
Thanks for having me.
It's about how Pellowah is a healing modality that shifts consciousness. Now, would you like to share what your perspective of consciousness is and how it relates to happiness, since this show is about happiness?
Absolutely. So I think consciousness gets bandied about as a word quite a lot these days, and you know, it's quite difficult for people to think about it, you know, in the larger concept. But obviously, we have the self-conscious aspect of us, and we have what people refer to as human consciousness, divine consciousness, unity consciousness, Christ consciousness, collective consciousness. You know, we have all these things. But on the level that we're talking about consciousness as a sentient awareness of ourselves, yeah? And if we can have a greater awareness of ourselves, and that's our truth, our true selves, you know, a connection to our true selves, which unfortunately we lose at a very young age because of the conditioning that is currently in society. We lose our connection to self at a very young age, and we also lose our connection to our truth because we tend to, through conditioning, tend to become something other than who we are in order to feel like we fit in or that we can be loved, because we get this message through various means that who we are is not enough, and so therefore we have to become something else. And so we lose this very beautiful connection with ourselves, and we also lose our connection with nature and understanding that we and nature are one. Yeah, we lose that very early on as well. And if you think about, and if your audience thinks about when they were very, very young children, there was no difference between them and nature. They talked to the trees, they talked to the flowers, they talked to the bees. They talked to everything, and everything talked to them, until such a stage where somebody said to them at some stage, trees don't talk, or you've got an overactive imagination, or some other, thing that then causes you to have to stop that particular relationship that you've had. And so if we can begin to have a deeper relationship with ourselves, if we can begin to contemplate and reflect, on what is arising within us and acknowledge what is arising in us, because one of the other things that happens is we tend to stuff our feelings down and stuff deep down inside us what's actually arising, and not have a relationship with what's actually going on with us, and not be able to name what is going on with us. And so we lose that connection as well. So for me, consciousness is about bringing a greater connection to self, for the ability for us to be able to contemplate, reflect. And when we contemplate and reflect, we are already using an element of consciousness that we don't necessarily use in everyday life. And when we have that stronger relationship to self and that connection to self and that greater awareness, then we also have this capacity to hold more joy and experience more happiness. And so it's often a question. It's a bit like the chicken and the egg, which came first. It's often a question: does happiness produce higher states of consciousness, or do higher states of consciousness produce happiness? And for me, they have a symbiotic relationship, and both affects the other. And so if we can learn to understand what that relationship is, we can actually produce situations where we have a constant access to happiness. And happiness to me isn't always being joyful. Yeah, happiness for me is a level of contentment that no matter what is thrown at you, there is a level of contentment and resilience that you will come through that, yeah, and that you can maintain a balance while you move through that. So for me, happiness has, a deeper sense of self in it, and that's where it arises from. It arises from that deeper sense of self, and that knowing that whatever comes towards you, you have this capacity and this connection to self and this relationship with self that will carry you through that.
I'm so glad that you said that happiness doesn't mean that you have to be joyful all the time, because I think that a lot of people do have a misconception of what happiness means. I know for me, like, I will have some people will say to me, "Oh, Jamie, like, you don't seem like you're in that good a mood today. Like, aren't you the happiness ninja? Don't you have to be happy all the time?" And I'm like, yeah, happiness is like peace within oneself. And right now I have the emotion that, is a negative emotion or not a positive emotion, but it doesn't mean that it's negating my internal happiness. It just means that this is a feeling at the moment, and I am completely content, and I'm not like beating myself or down or up or saying that I need to feel a different way, or like there's no shame with this negative feeling that I'm feeling, but at the same time recognizing that it's just a blip. It, like, overall it's gonna pass, and it's just a mood or an emotion that I'm going through and experiencing at this moment, but it's not going to change my overall happiness. So yeah, I just wanted to like mention that, because I do think that a lot of people have a misconception on the word happiness, and they look at it more from a surface level than like the underlining deeper reality of what happiness entails.
Absolutely. I totally agree with you. And this idea that we should constantly be one thing is a concept that I find so alien to human existence. We are by nature, we have ups and downs. We have this fluid situation that occurs with us, with our emotions, with our physical exhaustion, with our physical energy. We have all these things that occur. So nothing is ever going to be stable in this one line, and it shouldn't be.
Exactly. And the fact is that anybody who says that it is or is promoting that, to me, they're promoting a culture of toxic positivity, basically. Because nobody is supposed to be like full of joy 100% of the time. That is not the human experience.
Absolutely. And it's just another form of numbing. You're just shifting one thing for something else. That's all it is.
Exactly. More programming. But we do have to cut to the break, so we will come back and we will keep talking about that because I find consciousness and happiness, obviously, it is a topic that I love to talk about. So we'll be back in a moment.
Dr. RC will share extraordinary resources and services that promote educational success, as well as making a difference in the lives of all social workers, as well as the lives of children, adolescents, and teens of today. She will have open discussions addressing many of the issues that we face about our youth and how being employed in the uniquely skilled profession of social work for over 18 years has taught invaluable lessons through her personal experiences. She will also provide real-life facts, examples, and personal stories that will confirm that why serving as a child advocate is extremely beneficial when addressing the needs of the whole child. Listen live to Dare to Soar, Saturdays, 10 a.m. Eastern on the BBM Global Network, and tune in radio as Dr. RC will provide thought-provoking information that will empower, encourage, and strengthen students, families, and communities across our nation. You can also visit her at soarwithkatie.com. What if there were a super tiny device that could diagnose the brain and is smaller than a single human hair? What if you could see inside the brain to help an epilepsy patient during surgery or to help the fight against Parkinson's disease? Dr. Patricia Broderick is proud to announce the Broderick Probe, a biomedical and electronic breakthrough. Imagine a probe to help with the understanding and potential cure of brain-related diseases. To learn more, listen live to the Easy Sense radio show with host Dr. Broderick, Wednesdays, 7 p.m. Eastern on the Bold Brave Media Network and TuneIn Radio. And to help support the Broderick Foundation, please go to EasySense.com and learn how, with your help, we can fight these horrific brain disorders. That's EasySense.com to learn more and help support the Broderick Foundation.
Welcome back to Happiness Ninja Down Under. I'm Jamie Rose, the host of this series, and you are listening to Bold Brave TV. Before the break, we were talking to the awesome Julie Parker. She's coming to us from Wales in the UK, and we are discussing energy healing, life coaching, and consciousness sorts of things today, aren't we, Julie?
Yeah.
Now, while the break was on, we were sort of just talking amongst ourselves about the shift and separation of consciousness, and how this is basically setting people up to pretend that they're happier than what they are, because I think intrinsically they know that something is missing. And that there's something wrong with society and how it functions at the moment, but they don't know what it is. So then we're programmed and we're trained that we're supposed to be feeling happy. So then they're plastering all this stuff on social media, pretending that they're happy, but essentially that's actually helping to make the separation from source consciousness worse, I feel, in my opinion. What do you think about that?
Yeah, absolutely. And once again, from a very early age, we're taught to orientate to external things. We're not taught to orientate to our internal world or connect to our internal world. We're taught to seek affirmation. We're taught to seek solution. We're we're pretty much taught to seek everything externally. We're not encouraged to have this relationship with ourselves and to actually understand that we have this innate wisdom and this innate creativity that actually dwells within all of us. And just while we're talking about that, to understand that consciousness isn't in the mind. Consciousness exists in every particle of our being, both our physical and our non-physical being, and we are a field of consciousness within a greater field of consciousness, but we are not taught that. We're taught to look outside and to judge everything about ourselves by what appears outside. And so when you have people that are projecting themselves as constantly happy and having these phenomenal lives, you are then shaming other people who don't have that. Yeah, that's the process that is taking place. And those people are feeling shame because there's already shame, with a trauma of shame within them. And that's what is actually triggering the shame to continue within them. And because they don't have that strong relationship with self, they are going to constantly feel like they're missing, and they will try and fill that with junk, with movies, with food, with alcohol, with various things. They'll try and fill that void with all those things because they're trying to fill it from an external position and not actually fill it from the internal relationship.
Yeah, and I think it's very sad that this is why I'm really passionate about teaching the principles of happiness or positive psychology in schools from a young age. I basically want to program, I guess you could say, children to know what I think we should have all been brought up knowing innately, but we've been programmed to basically, be taught the complete opposite of what we actually need to be happy and fulfilled. And I just wanted to go touch on your point when you said that consciousness isn't just in our brain. I think that innately people know that inherently because we all have a gut instinct, and we all recognize it and know that it's there. But we don't necessarily trust it because we haven't been taught how to trust it. I know that's been one of the biggest challenges for me, and like my growth, my increase in conscious awareness is sometimes I can get stuck between what's in my head, my heart, and my gut, and I'm like, I don't know which one is I'm supposed to listen to, and I've made the wrong choices, or I've not acted on something because I've thought that it's my brain, but actually it's been my gut warning me about something, and I've just thought, oh no, you're just paranoid, this is a figment of your past coming up for you, and but essentially it was actually my gut instinct warning me, like, there's something wrong with this situation. So how have you dealt with that yourself, or how do you help clients deal with that? Because it's something that I think a lot of us go through, but there's not really that much guidance out there for us.
Once again, it really comes down to the strength of your relationship to yourself. Obviously, because we all do have these belief systems, underlying belief systems, and we all have compensating strategies that we use in order to cover those belief systems. So it comes down to this deeper awareness of yourself, and also understanding that intuition or gut instinct, which, and they occur in different ways, is the thing that comes in first before the mind comes into play, before the ego comes into play. The first thing that comes in before the ego comes into play. Then the ego comes into play to override that, because the ego is trying to keep you safe. It doesn't want you to go and do something. It's trying to keep you safe. But unfortunately, the methodology that it uses to keep you safe is based on history and not based on now. It's based on the past and not based on now. And so it's learning to understand the window. There's this very short window that occurs before that all starts to come into play. And it's learning to understand that window and recognize that window and sit with that window before everything else comes in.
Yeah, it's fascinating and complex and challenging and interesting all in one. I'm still trying to get the hang of listening to my gut instinct, but I think I'm closer than ever before. We do have to cut to another break. This goes so quickly. So when we come back, we will continue on. We'll be back in a moment, guys.
Author, radio show host, and coach John M. Hawkins reveals strategies to help gain perspective, build confidence, find clarity, achieve goals. John M. Hawkins' new book, Coached to Greatness, Unlock Your Full Potential with Limitless Growth, published by iUniverse. Hawkins reveals strategies to help readers accomplish more. He believes the book can coach them to greatness. Hawkins says that the best athletes get to the top of their sport with the help of coaches, mentors, and others. He shares guidance that helps readers reflect on what motivates them, rediscover and assess their core values, philosophies, and competencies, find settings that allow them to be the most productive, and track their progress towards accomplishing goals. Listen to John Hawkins' My Strategy, Saturdays, 1 p.m. Eastern on the BBM Global Network and TuneIn Radio. Did you know that your beliefs create your entire reality, but it's the subconscious beliefs that do most of the creating? Belief shifter and life coach Shiraz can help you identify those limiting beliefs and eliminate them, often in a single session.
Like it was almost instant, like I had relief right away.
Creating better health, relationships, careers, and finances. Let Shiraz help you step out of safety and into awareness.
Definitely something's happening. It's like a flow inside. It feels good.
Whether in person or online, Shiraz provides personal coaching, belief shifting. Visit Shiraz at energeticmagic.com or call 416-529-7429. Energetic Magic on the BBM Global Network, Tuesdays at 7 p.m. Eastern. Find your greater happiness. Be well. Be aware. Be magical.
Welcome back to Happiness Ninja Down Under. I'm Jamie Rose, and you're tuning in to Old Brave Media Network. We're another segment. I can't believe how quickly it's gone. I have the amazing Julianne Parker coming to you all the way from Wales in the UK. We've been talking all about Pellowah Energy Healing specifically, and consciousness, because it's a modality that consciousness. So to wrap up the segment, Julie, I wanted your thoughts on what's some overall things that are vital to our well-being and our happiness from a physical and energetic point of view, in your opinion?
I think that often not enough is focused on the fact that we are sensory beings. We have these 5 physical senses, and then we have these other senses available to us. But even these 5 physical senses don't have enough emphasis on them, and we don't understand actually how to use them on a daily basis. And if we begin to work with those 5 senses, so the sense of seeing, if we begin to witness things, visually watch things that are uplifting, that are colourful, that have the energy associated with them, that's energy that we can take on, because we have this capacity to actually invite energy in, yeah? And we often do it unconsciously by inviting negative energy in. And if we hold this capacity to actually invite the energy in that we actually need. And so, in many workshops, I said to people, take a walk down the street, take 15 minutes, walk down the street, invite the energy in of the green plants, invite the energy and the aroma in of the flowers, invite the energy in of the sun, and touch the plants. Because touch is a very important element of human existence, and it's necessary for us to actually feel things, both from a physical perspective as well as an emotional perspective. So I would say to people, work with things that actually bring higher level energies in that are based on the sensory things. So, for example, aroma works with the limbic system. It produces this amazing response in the body. And if we can learn to use aroma, whether that's through essential oils or it's through flowers or whatever means we use, it can just be out in the woods. The aroma of the woods or the rainforest, etc., are so important for us as human beings, and to reconnect with that nature and that nature within us. The same, grounding on the earth, feeling the earth beneath our feet and bringing in the energy of that earth really helps us to ground and become strong in our own physical presence. So I think, if there's one thing I would say to people, understand that you have this capacity to invite this energy in. Just become more conscious of actually doing that. Become conscious of your senses and actually inviting that energy in, even if it's just from the 5 physical senses, without going into the other senses that we have access to.
Well said. It's sad to me that we aren't taught how to engage with our senses properly. And it's something that still most people view as very woo-woo and airy-fairy, but then they wonder why they're miserable and depressed and sick all the time. And yet the people who believe in this and practice this as part of our life are functioning a lot more healthier and weller. Weller is not a word, but I just created it.
To engage with the senses are happier. I think you'll find that happiness comes from that engagement in the senses and really bringing that in. It imbues you as a human being, and that lifts your mood, and that's where inner happiness actually stems from.
Exactly. We do have to wrap up, but I just wanted to end it on a quick story to highlight that. So I grew up by the beach, literally I could hear the ocean at night. I was less than a 5-minute walk from the beach most of my life. And the first time I moved into the city, I was there for 2 years, and I hadn't gone to the beach in a very long time. And the first time I went to the beach, I literally could feel the shift in me, and I was like, oh, wow, this is what has been missing from my life for 2 years now. And within 6 months, I moved back to the beach. Don't ask me what I'm doing in New York and how I've been here for 2 years, but I am still here. Thank you very much, guys. That was just a quick story to wrap up. We will see you all next week. Thank you again, Julie. It was great to see you, and I hope everything works out for you in the UK and everything with the energy healing. So tune in next week, guys. I'm Jamie Rose. Bye for now, and see you next week.
This has been Happiness Ninja Down Under with your host, Jamie Rose. Tune in each week and join the conversation as Jamie highlights the true power of the human mind to create a thriving world. Right here on Jamie Rose's Happiness Ninja Down Under.
You've been listening to the BBM Global Network. The ideas, views, and opinions of this broadcast are those of the participants of the program and are not necessarily the ideas, views, and opinions of the BBM Global Network Company.